beach house. So now we have the tree house. So I'm working on it, and I know it's been a while since I've posted, but I wanted to share this wall that I did. It's first as you walk in the house. It's the very first thing that you see. Very easy to make, but it gives a very dramatic, really nice effect, you know, as soon as you walk into the home. So what I use for this, it's actually, I think, about 620 pieces of kiln dried 4x4s that I took a miter saw and I cut, and you want to be careful to cut them at least probably a good, I would say, an inch thick. I didn't after a while, you don't measure anymore, you just kind of know. So I did them about maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch to maybe like an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. And you can see, if you can pull in, could you come a little bit closer so you can see? You can see the differences in the thicknesses. And so I would alternate a thinner piece and then a thicker piece. The reason you don't want to make them paper thin, because I thought, oh, I can get more pieces if I just make them really thin, is when you go to stain them, they will warp. Because of the moisture, they'll no longer lay flat, and you can't even glue them on and lay them flat. So you want to make them at least, I would say, a good 1/2 inch thick. Okay, so that you have enough thickness that when you add the stain, it won't be paper thin and they'll warp up. So anyhow, so this is 4x4s. Now, the very first thing that I did was prep the wall. You'll want to decide what colors you want to make. You don't have to use stain. You could paint them in alternating colors like black and white, red and black, you know, whatever effect that you want to give. But you want to paint the wall, probably the background of the darker color. That's my suggestion, because there are still going to be places where you can see the wall behind, and you don't want this big white, you know, all these pieces of white coming out of this wall then. So then you have to measure. Even though it's a 4x4 kiln dried, you don't want to use pressure treated in your house. Never use pressure treated wood inside your house. I used a kiln dried piece of wood. So you're going to get, and I think I got it in 8-foot pieces. So, you know, by the time you cut it up, even though it's 620 pieces, it didn't really cost that much. So you'll prep the wall, you'll paint it. Then you want to measure, if you see up here, I have these pieces that come out further, ledges, that I use dowels. You can buy these wood screw dowels that they're screwed on both sides, so you screw it into the piece of wood that's sticking out here, the ledge first, and then you're going to mark where you want it on the walls. Those are the first pieces that you're going to put on, because if you try to screw these in afterwards, you can screw it. It's a square, and you can get it screwed. You have to turn it in to square it. So you at least have to have that area around it where you don't have these pieces of wood on it, okay, to screw it in. So anyhow, back to, you want to measure, and even though it's 4x4, 4x4, I think it's 3.5 by 3.5. Okay, so measure your piece of wood before you get it, and then measure how many you're going to have across, how many you're going to have up and down, and that'll give you your total pieces that you have to cut. Now you're going to cut them in alternating widths, so you're going to need half as much of each cut. So that's very time consuming, I will say this, but it's a beautiful effect for not a lot of money. Then you're going to sand each of those pieces of wood. Unfortunately, have to be sanded. I used an electric sander. Didn't take really that long. After a while, you learn some tricks. I group pieces of them together, because the edges, even though I use a miter saw with a good blade, they get these little nicks. So you sand it down, you stain it, do that outside, leave it for a couple days so that you get the smell of the stain. You don't have that in your house. Then, okay, so after I screwed these in with the dowel, you're going to figure out what adhesive you need to use. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be a test. I use the very expensive ones and the cheapo ones. I used Loctite brand, Loctite, and I used the most expensive one, the one that they had that was like 10 times the grab. It was a bear to get it out of the tube with the caulk gun. So, and what I found is with the really expensive ones, after a period of time, because they're not as moist, the pieces would fall off the wall. So I used the all-purpose Loctite. It's like $3.50 a tube. Works perfect, easy to adhere. I mean, I would have bruises on my hands from using the expensive one. Stayed on, hasn't come off. This wall has been like this now for since the pandemic started. When I was locked in the house, I needed something to do. so it's been a couple months. I think it was back in March. So yeah, a good 2-3 months, and no pieces have fallen off. And then I added these ledges because I wanted to add candles. Now these aren't real candles, they're battery operated LED ones. And I use batteries that I can recharge, rechargeable batteries. And I also got ones that I have a remote for, because if you see up here, can you show up there how tall, can you pan around so that they can see all of them? I have a total of 4, 5, 6, 7 candles on ledges, and then these 2 here. So I'll turn them on. If during the day you're not going to get as good of a light, and some of them I need to honestly recharge the batteries for. I think one of them actually. So at night it's this really nice warm effect. It just adds a little bit more to the wall. Anyhow, so that's my idea for a wall. It's nice to do it in a place where you want to add a dramatic effect. It might be too much just for, you know, too many areas of the house. I will only do this in the entrance area of the house. If you had maybe in a living area, a small wall, or say back on in my bedroom, I have 2 small walls on the sides of my bed, something like that. But you don't want to do too much because it would be overwhelming. Anyhow, so kiln dried 4x4s, some stain or paint. I also, if you can you show it real close here, Mariani? So if you'll see the grains, I'm a little OCD, so I tried to do the grains as best I could, going the same way, and they're alternating. This one goes to the left, so the next one goes to the right. That goes to the right. This one goes up, that goes down. So I would alternating left, right, and up and down. So anyhow, just to add another bit of effect to the wall. Anyhow, hope this is helpful, and hope it gives you some creative ideas while you're staying at home. Thanks.